what are my 401k options? So these are the three general options. You can cash out, meaning you take a cash distribution and withdraw. This is almost never recommended, and we'll talk about why on the next slide. Leave in your old 401k. This is sometimes recommended, and then rolling over, whether it's to your new 401k or to an IRA. And this is usually recommended as choice number one out of these three options. But the first option, cash out, which we almost never recommend, there's essentially one advantage into doing this, and this is the immediate access to cash. So life happens, things come up, maybe you need access to cash immediately. This would be one option. Again, this is when you've left employment or turned 59 and a half, but you are able to take a withdrawal or a cash out of your 401k. The disadvantage of this are penalties and fees. So penalties, if you're under the age of 59 and a half, and fees, a lot of that has to do with tax implications, which we'll cover at the end. But the second bullet point there I think is important. You're also forfeiting future tax deferred growth, right? Because you're taking the money out of the market, you are giving up the future of the growth that would happen if it would have stayed invested. These funds might not be available for retirement, right? The point of 401ks, generally speaking, are that you're saving for the future. So when you do retire, you have a pot of money that you can live off of. And then distributions included in the current tax year, that you take the distribution, it's going to be included in your income more than likely. So let's say you're making $50,000 and you have $50,000 in your 401k and you take a cash distribution. That's basically like making $50,000 extra in income. So it could, it could advance you into another tax bracket. If you're under age 59 and a half, you're going to pay that 10% penalty. And again, the opportunity, missed opportunity for future growth. So that's option number one. Again, almost never recommend. Option number two, leave your money in a former employer's plan. So there are some advantages to this, especially if you were at that plan for a long time. So you've become familiar with the investment choices, you've become familiar with the 401k provider, and at the end of the day, the money's still growing tax free, right? In the capacity that you want it to, unless if it's under 7,000, again, where it gets transferred to that restricted IRA. But some of the disadvantages are minimum balance may be required. Again, the rollover into a restricted IRA might be applicable. You may have limited withdrawal options. You cannot continue to make contributions because you are no longer employed through that employer where they offered the 401k. They may not allow Roth conversions if that's something that you're motivated to do. And you may just lose track who the 401k provider is. Again, if you were at a company for a long time and they always use the same provider, this might not be applied to you, but we have came across situations where companies have changed 401k providers a ton. And, if that happens, there's a good chance that along the way, you might lose track of who is actually administering the account. So what is a rollover and what are the benefits? So by definition, a rollover occurs when you withdraw cash or other assets from one eligible retirement plan and contribute all or part of it to another eligible retirement plan. So the following plans listed there are eligible retirement plans for rollovers. So we have, the employer sponsored plans, which make up the first chunk, and then the last one, which are individual retirement accounts or IRAs. So option three, which is usually recommended, rolling over to your new 401k or IRA. A big part of this strategy is just simplicity, right? You keep your accounts consolidated. You only have to worry about one required minimum distribution if you're of that age, one investment objective, one account to keep up to date on your beneficiaries. So there's a lot to be said about just simplifying your life around rolling it to your new 401k plan or an IRA. Avoid any unexpected provider changes. Again, we've seen it a ton where companies have changed 401k providers, and that is a an easy time for people to kind of lose track of where their account is being administered. Maybe they use a different email address, their contact information didn't get up to date. There's plenty of reasons why this would be challenging to keep up with your 401k and where it's being administered, and then potential cost savings either administratively or investment wise. So sometimes in this industry there's hidden fees within investment options. So not all the time, but it's always good to chat with somebody to know exactly what you're paying, exactly how your advisor or exactly how your plan administrator is being paid.